Fire consumed everything I loved in my past life, all because I tried to save a friend who didn't want to be saved. Betrayal is a bitter pill, but dying because of it, that rewires your soul completely. When the universe violently dragged my consciousness back to the exact Tuesday my roommate brought her monster of a boyfriend home for the first time, my path was crystal clear. No more warnings, no more tearful interventions. This time, I'm buying a front-row ticket to the disaster. She called me a jealous, bitter liar when I tried to pull her from the flames. Now she can burn. The smell of cheap vanilla body mist hit me first. It was suffocating, cloying, and instantly triggered a violent wave of nausea. My eyes snapped open, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I gasped for air, expecting the metallic tang of blood in my throat, the crushing weight of the steering wheel against my chest, and the blinding glare of Tristan's truck headlights in my rearview mirror before he ran me off the embankment. But there was no crushed metal. There was no freezing rain. I was staring at the popcorn ceiling of the off-campus apartment I shared with Harper. "Stella, are you even listening to me? I swear you're always spacing out lately." I turned my head slowly. The muscles in my neck felt stiff, unused. Standing in the doorway of my bedroom, holding a curling iron like a scepter, was Harper. She was glowing, her cheeks flushed with that pathetic, naive excitement I had once tried so desperately to protect. "What day is it?" My voice sounded foreign to my own ears, raspy, hollow. Harper rolled her eyes, adjusting the strap of her silk camisole. "It's October 14th, weirdo, and you need to get up. Tristan is coming over for dinner in 3 hours, and the kitchen is a disaster. I want everything to be perfect." October 14th, 2023. I had gone back exactly 2 years. Memories of my previous life rushed in, a violent, chaotic movie reel of destruction. In that life, I had seen right through Tristan Hayes the second he walked through our door. He was charming, yes, but it was a calculated, reptilian charm. I had noticed how his eyes never smiled when his mouth did. I had noticed how he casually criticized Harper's outfit on their very first date, framing it as just wanting my girl to look her best. In that past life, I had sat Harper down. I had warned her. I had told her about the red flags, the possessiveness, the way he subtly isolated her from our mutual friend, Sarah. And how had my dearest friend repaid me? She told Tristan everything. Tristan had then made it his life's mission to destroy me. He convinced Harper that I was secretly in love with him and trying to sabotage their relationship out of sheer jealousy. He hacked my social media, sending vile messages to my professors and my boss at the marketing firm, Mr. Sterling. I lost my internship. I lost my reputation. When I finally tried to move out, Tristan began stalking me. Harper filed a restraining order against me, claiming I was unhinged, and on a rainy night in November, Tristan followed me onto the interstate. He didn't even brake when he clipped my bumper, sending my car spinning into the concrete divider. I died suffocating on my own blood, knowing Harper was probably sitting in Tristan's lap, thanking him for keeping her safe from her crazy former roommate. "Stella, hello? Earth to Stella." Harper snapped her fingers, her perfectly manicured nails clicking sharply. "Are you going to help me clean or just lie there looking like a corpse?" I took a deep, shaky breath. The anger that ignited in my chest wasn't hot and frantic. It was cold, calculating, and absolute. I slowly pushed the blankets off and swung my legs over the side of the bed. I forced my facial muscles to lift into a warm, supportive smile. It felt like stretching a mask over my true face. "Sorry, Harp," I said, my voice steady and light. "I just had a crazy dream, but I'm up. I'll take care of the kitchen. You focus on getting ready. You want to look stunning for Tristan." Harper's annoyance instantly melted into a beaming, triumphant smile. "Right. I really think he might be the one, Stella. He's just so protective. He actually told me yesterday that he didn't want me hanging out with Sarah anymore because she's a bad influence, and he just wants to keep me safe. Isn't that sweet?" In my past life, that comment had sparked a massive screaming match. I had called Tristan a controlling freak. In this life, I simply walked past her, patting her gently on the shoulder. "If he's looking out for you, Harper, you should listen to him. A man who protects what's his is rare." Harper squealed, hugging me tight. "I knew you'd understand. You're the best roommate ever." Yes, I thought, pulling away from her embrace. I am. I'm going to be the absolute best roommate. I'm going to watch him build your cage, and I'm going to hand him the padlock. The dinner was a masterclass in psychological manipulation. Tristan arrived precisely at 7 p.m., holding a bottle of cheap wine and a bouquet of lilies. In my past life, I had pointed out that Harper was allergic to lilies. Tonight I said nothing, as she sneezed politely, putting them in a vase while her eyes watered. Tristan was exactly as I remembered. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a meticulously styled haircut and cold, calculating blue eyes. When Harper introduced us, he gave me a firm handshake, his eyes scanning me up and down, looking for a threat. "So, Stella," Tristan said, leaning back in his chair as I served the pasta. "Harper tells me you're majoring in art history." He chuckled, a condescending sound that grated on my nerves. "What's the career plan there?" "Starbucks barista with a focus on Renaissance foam art." Harper giggled nervously, looking at me to gauge my reaction. Last time, I had defended my major fiercely, outlining my plans for museum curation, which only made me look defensive and allowed Tristan to paint me as an arrogant snob later. This time, I laughed easily, twirling pasta onto my fork. "Honestly, Tristan, you might be right. I'm just riding it out. Not all of us have the drive and ambition of a business major like you." Tristan blinked, slightly thrown off balance by my complete capitulation. His chest puffed out a little more. "Well, it takes a certain kind of mindset to succeed in the real world. I was just telling Harper that she needs to drop her poetry elective. It's useless. She needs to focus on her communications degree. I'm actually going to sit down and redo her schedule for next semester." "Tristan," Harper whined softly, though she was smiling. "I like my poetry class. Professor Harrison is so nice." "He's a loser, babe," Tristan said flatly, taking a heavy sip of wine. He didn't look at her. He looked at me, testing the waters. "Right, Stella. Useless." "Completely," I agreed, taking a sip of my water. "You're lucky, Harper. Having someone to manage the stressful stuff like schedules. I'd kill for that kind of guidance." Harper beamed, her mild rebellion instantly squashed by my validation of Tristan's authority. Tristan looked at me, a smirk playing on his lips. He thought I was weak. He thought I was an ally. He had no idea I was just greasing the wheels of his bulldozer. The next few weeks played out like a script I had memorized. Tristan slowly began marking his territory. First, his toothbrush appeared in our bathroom. Then, his heavy boots blocked the entryway. By week 3, he was practically living with us, eating my groceries and leaving his dirty gym clothes on our sofa. In my past life, the grocery issue was the catalyst for World War III. I had confronted him, demanding he pay his share. He had twisted it, telling Harper I was broke, bitter, and making him feel unwelcome. Now I let it happen. In fact, I completely separated my life from theirs. The day after the dinner, I had visited our landlord, Mr. Henderson. I told him a tearful, fabricated story about my father falling ill back home, and asked about the penalty for breaking my half of the lease in 2 months' time. I paid the penalty up front in cash, securing a quiet exit strategy. I also bought a mini fridge for my bedroom, moving all my high-end groceries into it and installing a heavy-duty deadbolt on my bedroom door. When Harper asked about the lock, I gave her a sheepish smile. "Oh, my sleepwalking is getting worse, Harp. I don't want to accidentally wander out and ruin your alone time with Tristan. I want you guys to feel completely comfortable." She bought it hook, line, and sinker. "You're so considerate, Stella. Tristan was just saying he felt weird about you walking in on us in the living room." "Exactly," I said, locking my door from the inside and pulling out my laptop to look for a single apartment across town. Through the thin walls, I could hear the subtle shifts in their dynamic. The honeymoon phase was already rotting. Tristan's voice was getting louder, his tone sharper. I heard him berating her for talking to a male classmate. I heard her crying, apologizing profusely for things she hadn't done. Every time I heard her sob, a tiny, buried part of my humanity twinged. It was the old Stella, the one who cared. But then I would rub my chest, right where the steering wheel had crushed my sternum, and the pity would evaporate, replaced by ice. She had made her choice. Now she had to lie in the bed Tristan was making for her. By late November, the transformation in Harper was terrifyingly complete. The vibrant, bubbly girl who loved bright colors and loud music was gone. In her place was a pale, anxious ghost who flinched when her phone buzzed and exclusively wore baggy sweaters that Tristan approved of. She had dropped her poetry class. She had stopped speaking to Sarah. Her entire existence orbited around Tristan's moods. One Tuesday afternoon, I came home from the library to find Harper sitting at the kitchen island, staring blankly at her laptop. Her eyes were red-rimmed, and mascara was smeared down her cheeks. "Hey," I said softly, setting my bag down. Harper looked up, her lower lip trembling. "Stella, I failed my communications midterm. I got a D." "Oh, Harper, I'm sorry." I poured myself a glass of water, keeping my distance. "I couldn't study," she choked out, burying her face in her hands. "Tristan, he lost his keys on Sunday, and he made me stay up all night helping him look for them. And then he got so mad when I said I was tired, he wouldn't let me sleep. He just kept yelling at me, telling me I was selfish. Stella, I'm so tired." She looked up at me, desperate for a lifeline, desperate for the old Stella to tell her this was abuse, to tell her to pack her bags and run. I leaned against the counter and took a slow sip of water. "Well, Harper, you know how stressed he gets with his own classes. He relies on you. It's just a lot of pressure on him to be the man of the relationship. He just needs your support right now." Harper blinked, the desperation in her eyes curdling into confusion, then resignation. Yeah, you're right. He's just stressed. I should have been more supportive." "Exactly," I smiled thinly. "I'm sure he'll make it up to you." I walked to my room, locking the deadbolt behind me. I sat on my bed and exhaled. It was sickeningly easy to use his gaslighting tactics against her. But Tristan was getting bored with his easy prey. He needed a new challenge. He needed to ensure his isolation of Harper was absolute, which meant he needed to turn her against me just like last time. It happened on a Friday evening. Harper was in the shower. I was in the kitchen making a cup of tea. I heard the front door unlock, and heavy footsteps entered the apartment. I didn't turn around until I felt a presence looming right behind me, too close for comfort. I stiffened. Tristan was standing inches away, smelling of stale beer and cheap cologne. "Hey, roomie," he murmured, his voice dropping an octave. "Tristan," I said flatly, stepping to the side to put distance between us. I subtly reached into my sweatpants pocket and pressed the physical button on my phone to start the voice recorder. I had mapped the shortcut for exactly this scenario. "You always smell so good, Stella," he said, taking a step toward me, trapping me between the counter and his body. "Not like Harper. She always smells like cheap vanilla, gives me a headache." "You shouldn't talk about your girlfriend like that," I said, keeping my voice perfectly calm, perfectly neutral. Tristan let out a dark, raspy chuckle. He reached out, his finger trailing along the edge of the kitchen counter, inches from my hand. "Harper's an idiot. She's clinging to me like a parasite. But you're smart. You see right through everything, don't you? It's kind of hot." He leaned in, his breath hot against my cheek. "What do you say, Stella? You want to show me what a real woman is like?" In my past life, I had shoved him away, screaming at him, calling him a pig. Harper had walked out of the bathroom at that exact moment. Tristan had instantly spun around, adopting a look of pure victimhood, and told Harper I had just thrown myself at him and grabbed his crotch. Harper, terrified of losing him, had believed him instantly. This time, I didn't move a muscle. I looked him dead in the eyes, my expression devoid of any emotion. "I'm just a roommate, Tristan," I said, my voice carrying clearly for the microphone in my pocket. "And I'm not interested in you. Back off." "Oh, come on," he sneered, dropping the charming act. His hand shot out, grabbing my wrist hard enough to bruise. "Don't play hard to get, you stuck-up bitch. You've been giving me looks since day one. Let go of my wrist, Tristan," I said, my voice louder now, sharp and commanding. "Right now." Right on cue, the bathroom door creaked open down the hall. Tristan immediately released my wrist. His face morphed into a mask of pure, unadulterated shock and offense. He took 3 steps back just as Harper, wrapped in a towel, stepped into the hallway. "What's going on?" Harper asked, her voice trembling, sensing the tension. Tristan immediately walked over to her, wrapping a protective arm around her shoulders. He looked at me with a mixture of pity and disgust. "Babe, I'm so sorry. I came in to get a drink and Stella, she cornered me. She started saying all these crazy things, telling me I deserve better than you. She tried to touch me." Harper froze. Her eyes darted between me and Tristan. The seed of insecurity Tristan had been watering for months bloomed into instant paranoia. "Stella," Harper whispered, her voice cracking. Is that true?" In the past, I had cried. I had begged her to believe me. I had sworn on my mother's grave that he was lying. Today, I reached over, calmly picked up my mug of tea, and took a slow sip. I looked at Harper, whose eyes were wide with a pathetic, desperate need for me to deny it, so she wouldn't have to face the reality of the monster holding her. "Harper," I said smoothly, my voice echoing in the quiet apartment. "Your boyfriend was just asking me where we keep the extra trash bags. I told him they're under the sink. He's all yours." I didn't defend myself. I didn't call him a liar. I just walked right past them. "You're sick, Stella," Tristan yelled after me, playing his part to perfection. "We're moving out. Harper doesn't need a toxic snake like you in her life." Actually, I paused at my bedroom door, looking back at them over my shoulder. I offered a chilling, dead-eyed smile. "I'm the one moving out." My lease transfer is already finalized with Mr. Henderson. I leave on Sunday. You guys have the place all to yourselves. Have a great life together." I stepped into my room, slammed the heavy door shut, and slid the deadbolt home with a satisfying click. I pulled my phone out of my pocket, stopped the recording, and saved the audio file to 3 different cloud servers. Tristan_assault_confession.mp3. Outside my door, I could hear Harper sobbing uncontrollably, and Tristan's low, soothing voice, telling her that he was the only one she could trust, the only one who truly loved her. The trap had officially snapped shut, and I was finally free. Moving day arrived with a crisp, biting chill that perfectly matched the atmosphere inside the apartment. Sunday morning sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting long, harsh shadows across the living room, where my packed boxes sat in a neat, impenetrable fortress. Tristan was sprawled on the sofa, a smirk permanently etched onto his face as he watched 2 burly movers from a local company hoist my mattress. He looked like a king surveying a conquered territory. Harper was nowhere to be seen. She had locked herself in her bedroom, likely under strict orders not to interact with the toxic snake who was abandoning her. Leaving that apartment felt like shedding a suffocating second skin. Handing my spare keys to Mr. Henderson down in the lobby, a wave of profound, intoxicating relief washed over me. I hailed a cab and directed the driver to my new sanctuary, a small but secure 1-bedroom unit in the Hawthorne building on Oakwood Avenue. A solid 30-minute commute from campus and, more importantly, from Tristan. Settling into my new life was remarkably easy once the dead weight of trying to save someone else was lifted from my shoulders. Without the constant anxiety of Tristan's lurking presence or Harper's tearful, gaslit breakdowns, my mind was sharp, focused, and hungry for the future he had previously stolen from me. I threw myself into my art history major and secured a coveted paid internship at Apex Marketing Partners, a prestigious firm downtown. Mr. Sterling, the senior director who had fired me in my past life due to Tristan's fabricated emails, was now my biggest mentor. I was thriving. Complete radio silence descended between Harper and me. She blocked my number, unfriended me on Facebook, and restricted me on Instagram. It was exactly what Tristan wanted. Absolute, uncontested isolation. And I happily obliged by making my own profiles private and blocking them both in return. Months bled into the bleakness of late winter. The semester flipped, and I heard nothing but ghosts of rumors. That changed on a dreary Tuesday afternoon in February, when Sarah, our mutual friend, whom Tristan had banished from Harper's life, texted me. "Stella, are you free? I need to talk to you about Harper. Please." We met at a busy Pete's Coffee near the university library. Sarah looked exhausted, nursing a large dark roast and anxiously tearing a sugar packet into microscopic shreds. When I slid into the booth across from her, she didn't even bother with pleasantries. "She looks like a corpse, Stella," Sarah blurted out, her voice barely above a frantic whisper. "I saw her yesterday outside the campus bookstore. I barely recognized her. She's lost at least 15 pounds. Her hair is falling out, and she was wearing this massive, heavy coat, even though it was mild outside. She had a bruise on her jaw, right near her ear. A phantom ache flared in my chest, a residual reflex from the girl I used to be. I pushed it down, taking a slow sip of my vanilla latte. "What did she say when you talked to her? She wouldn't even look at me." Sarah's eyes filled with frustrated tears. She flinched when I said her name, and then Tristan came out of the store. He didn't even yell. He just put his hand on the back of her neck, squeezed it, and whispered something in her ear. Harper practically whimpered and scurried away with him to his truck. "Stella, he's destroying her. We have to do an intervention. We have to go to her parents." Gazing at Sarah, I saw the exact reflection of my past self. Desperate, loyal, and incredibly naive. I remembered organizing that exact intervention in my first life. I remembered her parents telling me to mind my own business, that Tristan came from a good family. I remembered Harper using my concern to prove to Tristan how obsessed I was with ruining their love. "Sarah," I said evenly, setting my coffee cup down. "Do not get involved." Sarah recoiled as if I had slapped her. "What? How can you say that? She was your best friend. You lived with her." And when I tried to point out his red flags, she called me a jealous liar and pushed me out. I lied smoothly, keeping the narrative exactly where it needed to be. She made her choice. Tristan is her entire world now. If you try to intervene, he will turn it around on you. He will make you the villain, and Harper will help him hand you the knife. Walk away." "You're so cold," Sarah whispered, staring at me with a mixture of horror and disgust. "I thought you cared about her." "I care about my own peace of mind," I replied, sliding a $10 bill onto the table to cover my drink. "Tristan is a black hole, Sarah. If you get too close trying to pull her out, he'll suck you in and crush you too. Let her hit rock bottom. It's the only way she'll ever learn." Walking out of Pete's Coffee into the damp afternoon air, I felt no guilt. I had tried to be the hero once, and my reward was a crushed sternum and a mouthful of shattered glass. Let Sarah play the martyr if she wanted. My hands were clean. Spring arrived, painting the city in vibrant greens and soft pinks, a stark contrast to the darkness festering in my former roommate's life. April marked Harper and Tristan's one-year anniversary. I knew this date intimately because, in my previous timeline, this was the exact week Tristan had escalated his psychological torture by convincing Harper to drop out of college entirely to manage his schedule full-time. Fate has a twisted sense of humor. On the exact evening of their anniversary, I was scheduled for a celebratory dinner at the Capitol Grill downtown. Mr. Sterling had invited me to join him and two senior clients after our team successfully landed a massive advertising account. I was dressed in a tailored navy blazer and a silk blouse, sipping sparkling water and holding my own in a conversation about market demographics. Midway through our appetizers, the maitre d' escorted a couple to a secluded booth near the back of the dining room. My breath caught in my throat. It was them. Tristan was wearing a flashy, ill-fitting grey suit that looked like it had been bought off the rack at a discount department store. He was grinning, exuding an arrogant, loud energy that demanded attention from everyone in a 10-foot radius. But Harper was a ghost. Sarah's description hadn't done the decay justice. Harper was practically skeletal. She was wearing a tight, plunging red dress that I knew for a fact she would have hated a year ago. She always preferred modest, comfortable clothes. The dress highlighted her jutting collarbones. Her makeup was heavy, applied like war paint to mask the dark, sunken circles under her hollow eyes. She moved with a stiff, jerky caution, like a deer constantly anticipating a gunshot. Throughout dinner, I kept one eye on my clients and one eye on the train wreck across the room. Tristan ordered for her. He chose a heavy steak and a glass of Cabernet. When the waiter brought the food, Harper merely stared at it, her hands trembling in her lap. I watched Tristan lean across the table, his smile wide and charming for the rest of the restaurant, but his eyes dead and furious. He whispered something to her. Harper flinched, quickly picked up her fork, and began taking tiny, forced bites. "Stella, are you following this?" Mr. Sterling asked, pulling my attention back to our table. "Absolutely, sir," I smiled warmly, easily re-engaging with the business discussion. I refused to let Tristan's presence ruin my triumph. An hour later, I excused myself to use the restroom. The ladies' room at the Capitol Grill was an opulent affair of marble counters and gold-rimmed mirrors. The moment I pushed the heavy oak door open, I heard the sound of muffled, desperate sobbing. Harper was standing at the farthest sink, gripping the marble edge so tightly her knuckles were translucent. Her shoulders heaved as she cried silently, terrified of making a sound. I stopped walking. The click of my heels echoed on the tile, and Harper's head snapped up, our eyes locked in the mirror. For a long, agonizing moment, neither of us breathed. She looked at my healthy complexion, my tailored clothes, the quiet confidence radiating from my posture. Then she looked at her own reflection, a hollowed-out shell trapped in a dress she hated, crying in a bathroom on her anniversary. "Stella," she choked out. The sound was pathetic, broken. I walked calmly to the sink next to hers, turned on the polished brass faucet, and began washing my hands. I didn't say a word. "Stella, please," Harper whispered, turning toward me. Tears carved muddy tracks through her heavy foundation. I made a mistake." "You were right. You were right about everything." She reached out a trembling hand, brushing the sleeve of my blazer. "He's awful, Stella. He tracks my phone. He took my debit card. He tells me I'm worthless every single day. Tonight he told me that if I didn't eat the steak he ordered, he'd lock me out of the apartment again.